Hello. Hello, everyone. Just write me in the comments if you can hear me, and I'm not sure how many of you have joined. Can you hear me? Let's start with this. Can you hear me? All right. Okay. So I think there is only one person for today. I'm not sure if it makes sense to continue with only one person, and then like the others can watch it offline, or should we just postpone it to the weekend? And for the weekend, I try also, or like I try maybe to have, or like to make two sessions, one after the other. So this might make more sense, I guess. So I think Venkat, it's gonna be up to you to decide whether we continue or we postpone it to the weekend. And yeah, all right. So maybe let's just wait a few minutes if someone else joins. Because like for me, it's always better to have more people just for the Q&A session, because like I really like the Q&A session. So yeah, all right. So we can continue it. So it's absolutely fine for me. All right. So I guess we can start our session for today. So like what we did the last time was mainly some introductions to the different parts of our for our applications, like the different like Spring Data GPA, Spring itself, and so on and so forth. So now we will start the real implementation. So maybe before I start implementing, I can also share something with you, maybe like a rough plan. How will we proceed? So first of all, we'll start implementing the services. So this will be from now on. So this will be the first step. And maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. So yeah, we will start first by implementing the services. So this will be the first part. And then we will implement the, okay, so to file upload to S3 plus CDN configuration. So this is what we will do next. The third step will be Redis. So here, like we will implement the cache and see what Redis is, and all that. And then after that, so here I will not mention security, because security is it's really simple. It's really simple, because it's gonna be 100% delegated to Kicklog, so that's why we don't need to talk about security. So like if we need something, I will just include it up front. All right, so then after doing this, I guess this should be okay for the backend. All this part should be fine for the backend. Otherwise, like if we need something, or if I forgot something, I will mention it. So then we will move to the front end. All right. So like for the front end, it will be really detailed. So like for example, like Angular new features, also like how to move from Angular 16 to Angular 17 plus, something like that, and so on and so forth. So like we'll try to cover almost everything about Angular. All right, so for now, as I mentioned, so for now we will start with the services. Yeah, sorry, I forgot something. So I guess I need to increment the steps. So services, and then the API. So like the REST layer, of course. Or like we can say, All right, so maybe I can do it this way. So here we can have services, and here like services themselves and the API REST layer. So like the REST API. All right, so this is like the future plan. So like this you can have, or like you will have an idea, and of course like we will talk a lot about Keycloak, how to configure, what are the necessary configurations, and all this stuff. So maybe before moving to the front end, here we can have, or like we can switch this one to Keycloak, and then let's say a deep dive, because for Keycloak we have the configuration part, and we have also like the implementation of the Keycloak listener. But I'm not sure if you guys already watched the latest video I published on Monday, which is the WhatsApp clone. Yaya Diallo, he just mentioned that he sent me an email. So okay, so I did not receive the email earlier, so it's totally fine, so no worries with that. So like since I did not check it before, so I will postpone it to the weekend. So we'll check it to the weekend, for the weekend. Yes, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Also, like Venkat mentioned, JUnit and Mockito. So yeah. All right. I think I need to. Okay. Maybe I forgot what we need to do. Well, I did not forget in that sense, but all right. So here, let me try again. So services, file upload, Redis, Keycloak, and after that, also we will see integration tests. So like we will see tests, generally speaking. So here like we will see the tests. So here we will see unit tests, we will see integration tests, and also we can have a look on E2E tests. And here like we will use Postman for that. And then we can move to the front end. So like this one, I will just make it as an X, because in case we need to add some steps. But yeah, like I have the plan for everything, but I did not, like I don't have it ordered in my head or in my brain. But anyways, so let's not waste more time on this. So this roughly the plan. So like this is the rough plan that we will see, and of course like for the backend we have much more than Keycloak. So then, because based let me open the diagram in here. So yeah, so here for the diagram, if you remember, we have also like the WebSocket configuration, we have the email service with the message broker, we have also what we agreed on here, the game requests. So for the game requests, we mentioned that we can implement something scheduled. So we will implement a scheduler or a scheduler task that will create the game requests automatically. So we have really a lot of things to do. So don't worry about that. We will implement everything. All right. So now let's start, or let's go back to our application. And for that, there is something. Just a second. So there is something here. I think the last time, or it's mainly me, so like I think we forgot about it. So here for the game, we said that we have a supported platforms. All right, and also like I mentioned it like as a plural, so it should be platforms, not only a platform. And what we already implemented, so what we implemented in here, so if I go to game, so for the game entity here, we have supported platforms, which is of type enum. So this does not make sense, because like a game can be played, or like can be played on different platforms, like PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and so on and so forth. So first of all, we need to fix this one. And well, before that, we will clean up the code. So like I will clean up what we did before, and then we will come to that part. So first of all, in the game, and I think also we touched a little bit the repository, the category repository. So here, first of all, I will remove all this code, since it was only for learning purposes. I will optimize the imports. And then let's check what else do we have. So here game repository as well. So I will also clean it up. So let's clean all this. So I will delete both like these two game representations. So here I will just do delete, and yes, delete anyway. And here in the game service, I will also delete everything from game service, because like we will implement everything from scratch. All right, so let's optimize the imports. So here we have this game specification. Also, let's get rid of it. And now I guess everything should be fine for the game. And category as well. So here let's remove these named queries, since we do not need them for now, and like we will define what we need later on. So here wishlist, notification, menu, and I think okay, so for the menu, I guess we also don't need this one, because I just showed it when I wanted to show you how to create an entity that or that has a relationship with itself. All right, so here we have game request, and here we have the game repository. This is the common, and now we should be fine. So let me make this first commit, and here let's say, so this will be session 8. So here cleanup, or like code cleanup. All right, so let's commit this. And now we can go back here. So I will close everything. So as I mentioned, the first thing we will fix what we already missed, or like what I missed. All right, so here for the game, first of all, we mentioned that a game has a supported platforms, right? Like a list, it should be a list of supported platforms. So for that, I will just create an entity. So here, I will create it in a package called platform, and then I will call it platform. All right, so like this is gonna be a simple entity, so not like nothing fancy in here. All right, so platform. All right, so here, and then this one extends a base entity. So about this base entity, I received, so okay, so I guess this is something that I would like to share with you. So like one of you, I hope it's okay to name you, but Yaya Diallo, he sent me a document, which I really appreciated what he did, with some comments, enhancements, and questions, generally speaking, about few things that he had questions, or like he wanted to ask about it, and also like some suggested modifications and enhancement, and also like maybe some wished functionalities that we might include in our application. So I really appreciated that, and also so that I already had the idea, but also now this confirmed me the idea, because in the future I want you like when we try to put the first steps, or like the first bricks of our application, I would like you to contribute to the same application. So for example, for me, I can show you how to implement one service, just an example, or like one controller, and I want that you continue implementing the rest. So of course, if you are willing to, this it's not mandatory, but if you are willing to, so you can also, as I mentioned, you can implement the repository, you can implement parts of the application, and then we can do a code review together. If I have comments, so like I just give you the comments, you do the adjustments, and then we can merge the pull requests. All right, so like this, it's going to be like a project that everyone can contribute to. So if you like the idea, I would like also to go for that one. Also for the people who are not present, or who are not with us right now, just leave me a comment whether if you like this idea or not. Okay, so yeah, so again, thank you Yaya, for the document and for the feedback and for the comments. And as I mentioned, we will I will share that document in the next session. All right, so like we will start the next session with that, and we will see that. All right, so for now I will just continue in the same way, and then we will come back to that later on. All right, so here the first thing. So here in the game, I will just I will just move this one to this supported platforms. I will move it to this package, all right, to the newly created package. And this I will just rename it to console, all right? So because we are talking about game console, so just refactor. And now for the platform, what are the attributes that we need? So I just need a private console and console, all right? So this is all I need. And here, of course, it should be enumerated and enum type string. So now our platform has a relationship within the game, right? So like the game, so our game has a list of supported platforms, and one, like the platform has many lists, all right? So like it's many-to-many relationship, like simply speaking. So it's gonna be a many-to-many relationship. And here, let's say this one is mapped by platforms. And here I will have a private, well, not store, but so here also I want it to be a list. And here, let's say games. All right. So now this is the game entity, like as simple as that. So now instead of having supported platforms in here, all I need to do is to have, or like to add the relationship between between the game entity and the supported platforms. All right. So here it's gonna be a many-to-many, a many-to-many. And all right, so I don't want this. Why this auto completion? So here I would just a fetch type eager, because when I fetch the game, I would like to eagerly fetch the platforms. And here I would just have a private list of platform, and let's call it platforms, and that's it. So here what we did, I did not define the join table or anything else, because I just want to delegate everything to Hibernate. So like it will create the tables for me, and so forth. All right. So like even when we will do that, or like when we will upgrade and include or like introduce flyway, so this will remain the same. All right. Okay. So now this is the first thing that I wanted to mention. And now we will start by implementing our first service. So as I mentioned, okay, it's just for this session, it's gonna be maybe a test to see your feedback, or like what you want or what you are willing to. So for today, I will define, or like I will introduce the service, the game service, so like, or the methods that we want to implement for the game. And then I would like to see, or like if you want to contribute to the source code or to this application, you can maybe finish implementing category, comment, okay, so let's leave game request for the end. Also, or like we can also implement game request, user, and so wish list, notification, and so on. So like anything that we need, or like anything that can be implemented. And also, like, we will review all the changes every time, and merge what can be merged. Also, like, implement or like re-implement what needs to be implemented if, for example, the idea is not clear for you. So for example, you just okay, you missed some service or something like that, because I already have like the knowledge, or like the global idea of the application. So this is what I want to say, or like what I want to share with you. All right, so now first of all, let's start with implementing the game service. So I will create a class. Okay, so we already have game service. Sorry for that. So here we have game service. So for the game service, we will implement few methods. All right. So the first one, I will start with a method, a public string. So here, let's call it save or create game. All right. Maybe let's keep it simple. As save, and for this one we will need a game, but here we need to create an object game request. Okay, but I think in here it's confusing between these. Okay, so this is the game request, so this is the entity game request. So I think maybe we need to rename something. So I will try to rename this one. So game request entity. All right. And yep. So let's remove this. And here, so the idea behind having a game request, so let's call it game request. So here I will just say return null. I will keep it empty because I just want to list the list, you the list of methods that we need to implement. And then we will implement them one by one. All right, so here what I need to implement, so here we have a save method. I want also to have a public void update game. So here maybe let's call this one save game to be consistent with everything. So here I want to have I want to update a game. So for that I will ask for a string game ID and also my object game request. So let's call it game request. We will create this one in a few seconds. All right. So this is the second method. And then we will have a public string method. So this one, it will upload a game image. So when we want to upload a game image, and here, of course, we will need our multi-part file. So it's the file itself. And of course, we need our string game ID. All right. So maybe here, let's just say return null and keep it empty for now. And then after uploading an image, of course, now we need the classic methods. All right. So here we need a public. So for now, I just call it a void, but I will change the type. And here I need my find all games. All right. So and here I need my int page and int size. All right. So this find all games. So this one should be paginated, like the result. So here the result should be paginated. So here we have two choices. So whether we can use the page object, the one that I explained the last time, so like with all the attributes and all the things that we need in here, and we just return that one, or we can create our own object. Like it's going to be a wrapper or holder for that. All right, for this page response, since this one contains much information, or like more information that I personally or like that we need, but it's not always recommended to create your own object. You can stick to the page type. All right, but for that, for me, or like for my case, I prefer always having control over almost everything. So all right, so I think we already created this the last time when we checked the pagination. All right, so here we have the content, total element, total pages. Okay, so I think we missed few elements. So here we can add also a private. So not the total, since we have it, but here we want the number. So like the page number, which is the number of the current page. So this will help us when it comes to the front end. All right. And also we need the size. So the size is total page, no, not total pages, but the size of the page of that current page. All right. So this is why we updated that. So here I will just say that I want to return a page response of type game response. All right, so here we see that we need to introduce a new type or a new object, which is our game response. So let's leave it for now. And here I will just return null until we implement the different methods. And then finally, I will add a void delete game. All right, so like all I need to do is to pass my game ID and delete the game. All right, so now let's first start with the objects that we need to create. So here we have our game response, but just a short question, and try to answer me quickly in the comments, in the chat. So would you like me to explain the pattern or like we call it the DTO pattern, or like why we need some transfer objects. So like this game request, why we need that. So if you want me to explain it, just write yes or no in the chat, so I can also try to dive or to explain in details this one. Otherwise, if it's fine, or like you know the pattern, like, or you watched it on different videos on my YouTube channel or any other channel, so just tell me it's fine and I can skip that. Just let me know. All right, guys. So, okay, I see two people saying no, that it's fine for them, but like the rule is if at least one person who does not know something or who wants to dive deeper into something, so I have to. All right. So, but I will try to make it as easy as possible, or also as clear as possible, and I will try to move fast. All right. So here, what do we have? So we have here our external, or like the outside world. All right. So this is the user in the outside world. And here I have my application. So here I have my application, and here I have my data, my database. So this is where I store my data, or like my data storage. So here, what do we have? So here I have two options. So since my application would be talking with different entities from, or like different tables from the database, all right? And what we know that every, like the table, it contains columns, all right? And columns which are like, let's call them the metadata that we need to use, or like that we need to communicate with the outside world. And also we have some, I will try to call them this way, all right? So like private columns, all right? They are not private, and I'm not talking about the visibility itself, but private columns, they should not be exposed, all right? Like, and the examples are many, like passwords, like phone numbers, and all this stuff, all right? So you just ask for them because you need them for your application, but you should not expose them that way. Like you should not expose them in an easy way, all right? So like you need to be careful when exposing such information. So here, what we usually do when we want to communicate with our application, we send a request, all right? And then the application, it will send back a response. So here we have two options, whether, so here, let's say this is my table, like my database, this is my database table. So here I will call it DB_table, just to say database table. So if like the usual way, or like the classic way, so like the wrong way that people always use. So what they do, they communicate in here. So like in this place, they send the database, or like the representation, all right? So like it's not the table itself, but the representation. So here they are using the entity. We know that in the code, the representation of the database table is the entity itself, all right? So here they communicate with the entity. So they send a request. So they ask for an object of type entity, and then for the response, also, they will send back this one, all right? So they will send back the entity itself. And this represents so many issues among them. So like not only performance, not only like having even or like causing issues, but like the most important is security, all right? So the most important is security issue. So here we need to be careful about that. So what is the solution for that? So instead of using or exposing the database table, So we just need to expose something called DTO. All right, so like DTO stands for data transfer object. So data transfer object. So it's just an object. So it's a representation. It's a class. It's an object that has one goal. All right, it has one goal, which is transferring data from one end to another. All right, like from end to end. So this is like the first object. All right, so we can use the same DTO for request and response. So like it will be like most of the times it will hold the same information. So when I send a request, I just need to send this DTO. So like this DTO is it will be filled with first name, last name, email, and so on and so forth. But also I can use it for the response. But here, think about something. So the best way, or like the recommendation, is to have a DTO for the input and another DTO in here for the output. All right, so like what we call request and response. All right, so like request objects and response objects. Why do we need that? I will just give you a simple case. So here, let's assume, or let's imagine our DTO has the following. So like this is my DTO. All right, so let's imagine my DTO has the following information. So I have first name, I have last name, email, and password, and for example, confirm password. All right, okay. So this is my object. So I want to use this object for the request as well as for the response. If I use the same object, so here let me have a look on what we are exposing. So for the input, this is valid. So like when I want to have it for the input, this is totally fine. All right, so like because I need all this information, including the password and the email. But let's imagine that I want to display the list of the users. So if I use the same DTO, so I will be exposing this one, and okay, so let's assume that the email is fine, but you know that nowadays the like email is money, like really like a long email listing equals money. All right, so also like it's a breach, it's a security breach, like you should not expose or share your email with anyone. Okay, so if I try to expose the same object that I have in here, so here I'm exposing information that I'm not supposed to expose. All right, so that's why the solution, all I need to do is to have separate DTOs, like a DTO for the input and a DTO for the output. So I hope I made this point clear. So I hope you got this point. So now I think we can go back to the code. All right, so we can go back and finish our game request. So first of all, I will create a record for that. So let's use something new. So a record is also like, it's a class, so it's nothing different. All right, but it just does not have the same flexibility as a class. So here I will have string name, a string. So here we said that a game, wait. Yeah, so here I was looking for that. So here we said that we have the game has a name, it belongs to a category. So I will have here a string category ID, So then I will have a list, or this one, it can be a set of platforms. All right, so here I'll just call it platforms. So let's import the class, let's import the set. All right, so like why I used, so who, try to answer me in the chat. Who knows why I used a set over a list? Or like what is the difference between a set and a list? Not why I used it, but what is the difference between a set and the list? And maybe if you know the difference, you will directly know why I used set over a platform, over a list for the platforms. All right, so I will continue until I receive your answers. So now I have my game request object. So all I need to do is to create my game response. Okay. So let's create our game response, but for the game response, I will use a class. So for that, I will add my getter as well as my setter and my old args constructor, no args constructor, and my builder. I just used a class because I want to use a builder just because it makes it easy to build my object. All right, so here I will have a private string ID. So this will be the ID. And by the way, notice here that I did not add the ID attribute. Okay, I did not add the attribute, the ID attribute. All right, so I see that you all of you answered me, like you provided the correct answer. So like a set does not support or like does not allow duplicates. So when I use it for platform, so for example, if this might happen, so like the user cannot send me twice the same platform. So like we will be on the safe side. All right, so here just I was explaining why I did not include the ID, or like that I did not include the ID in the game request because like first of all we don't need it, and second, if we need it for the update, so for the update we need to pass the game ID and the object itself. All right, so like this one of the standards of designing REST APIs. All right, so let's go back to the game response. So here I will simply will have my ID and I will have my private string name, and also I will have a private string or like a private set. So here we can use also a set of string, and let's call it platforms. And finally, we will have, of course, our string image URL. So this image URL, it will be the CDN URL. Just to notice, or like just to let you know from now. All right. So here, this is what I need. All right. So now I have my game request object. Okay, I have my game request response, and I have almost everything that I need to start implementing the different services. So let me remove the unnecessary comments in here, and now let's start implementing the save method. So the save method is going to be something really simple. So here the first thing, I need to inject my private final game repository. All right. And also I will create a mapper. Also, I will show you the next time, because I think so many of you asked me the same question, that you want to see Mapstract. All right, just let me know in the chat if this is true or not, that you want to use Mapstract, or like want to use, or like to see how to use Mapstract. It's totally fine for me to show it to you, or like to use it even in this project, but personally I do not rely so much on such libraries, or like on libraries that do a simple job, like just a simple mapping. All right, but okay, we can have a detailed discussion about that. All right, like a long discussion about that. All right, anyways, so here let's I will create my private final game mapper. So this will map my game like from request to response, and so on and so forth, and vice versa. So the first thing I need to do is the following. So here I will receive few information. So a name, category ID, and the platforms. So here when you see, okay, so for the name it's totally fine. So also for the name we can do we can perform a check. So here we can perform a check just to not allow duplicates. Okay, also we can add something in here. So for the title, so here I'm just changing the attributes just to for you. I think it's better. Or all right, so we can also discuss this one. I don't want to go like in different directions for now. So here, what I mentioned in here, so like we need to perform a check to not allow duplicates for the name or for the title. All right, so maybe let's call it title to be consistent and avoid any kind of ambiguities. All right, so here for the title, we can make it in here, of course, so like it should be nullable false, so this is something, and also we can make it as a unique true. All right, so like we can make it a unique true. So here when we say it's a unique true, so like we will have one security layer on the database level. Okay. All right, I think Arnaud said that he does not know about mapstract. Okay, so we can have okay, we can see it. Okay, we will see it. So here for the title, so this is our first layer check, or like first layer, or like, well, it's not the first, but it's the last one. Okay, so the last layer check, because for checking we have the first layer in here, which is the front end. So FE is for front end, and we have here our back end, and finally we have the database. So this is the first line of defense, this is the second one, and this is the third one. All right, so here, even if you perform checks in here, also think about performing checks in here. So like it does not harm, it does not take time, but it's always better to double check rather than having corrupted data. Okay, and also, even you are sure that you did this and this, you need to perform a check in here, because who knows that someone has access to the database and he does not know the structure or something like that, and he tries to insert something. At least we make sure that he inserts something which is correct. Okay, so here always think and always remember that you should have different line of defenses, or like different lines of defense. All right, so let's go back in here. So now the first thing that we need to do. So here, by the way, what I'm trying to do is I want, as I mentioned, so this is the goal of this bootcamp. It's not just me coding and moving on, but also teaching you at the same time how you should think. All right, when implementing a software, how you should think, which hat you need to put, what is the mindset that you need to have. All right, so like it's not just about talking, or like sometimes maybe you get the feeling that I'm making things long, but no, I'm not making things long, but I'm sharing with you how I would design, how I would code, how I would think about implementing such a solution. So I hope this is fine for you, and I think this should be fine for you because I'm trying to share as much as possible with you. All right, so now since we have a category ID, so here we need to check that the category exists. Why? Because we have a relationship with this table, or like with this entity or table. All right, so we need to perform a check. Okay, and now for the supported platforms, it's the same. So like it's the same reason. All right, this is what I meant by the same. So it's the same reason. We need also to check that we have that the platforms exist. Okay, so like all the platforms, because we should not allow a platform which is not supported. Okay, so this is why. All right, so now the first, let's start doing this one by one. So here I will start with, I will create a final, by the way, like using a final keyword, this is very important. So I know that I'm not doing this every time, or like in all my videos, but using final is really important, because here you make sure that this object will not be changed. But if you need it to be changed, you can remove the final keyword. Anyways, we can also discuss about final in a different stream. All right, so here I will first have a list or a set. Okay, so we started with a set. Let's continue with a set. A set of platform. So let's call it platforms. equals a new hash set. So I will just set it as a hash set. So here we have two options. So let me first create the class game mapper, so I just can get rid of this annoying error that I see in here. So first I will have a list of platforms. Okay, so here we can have, or like we can do, we have two ways of doing that. So whether looping, so here like we have two options. So let's say option 1, loop over the list of platforms and fetch them one by one from the DB, from the database. All right, so this is the first one, or this is the first option. The second option, like fetching, or like let's call it option 2, which is extracting or like transforming, or like let's say mapping, just to get used to the naming. So mapping the platforms, and here in the request object, to platform, and here I'm talking about the entity, and fetch all of them. All right, so personally I would go with option 2. All right, but I mentioned this one because I know that so many people are doing this mistake. Right, because here let's imagine, okay, so for the supported platforms we have few, like we have 3, 4, 5 of them. We do not have so much. But maybe if you if you make yourself like if you create this bad habit with yourself, you will forget that you have the option to fetch everything. All right, that you have an option to fetch everything in one query. So like all you need to do is to do the following. So select platform, so select star maybe from platform where we said console, right? So where console in, and then you just need to provide the list of consoles that you have. So for example, PS and Xbox, sorry. All right, so like PlayStation or Xbox. So this will bring back all the platforms in one query, or you can just have here something like this. So here having something like this. So where console equals to this. All right, so like it's whether option 1 or option 2, but I'm sure that you agree with me that option 2 is much better. All right, so let's go now and let's continue implementing this. So since we already decide which option we want to use, so now we have our game repository is here. So I need now my platform. So private final platform repository. So I don't have it yet. Repository, and let's call it platform repository. So here I will use, I will create an interface platform repository, and here in the package platform. All right, so here, okay, so let's rename this. Yep, rename the field, and here of course extends JPA repository and of type string. All right, so now I have my platform. So here, all I need to do first, like I said, we will go with option 2. All right. So here I will just do game request dot, not game repository, but game request dot platforms. And then, so I don't want a for each. So here I can whether use an for each or a stream. All right. So here, like we have the option, or like we can choose. All right, but here I will just use a stream and then map. So here I will just map it to a platform, to an object of type platform. Okay, right. So here, because the platform, sorry, I will transform it to a list of console, not a list of console, not a list of platform. Right. So here, let's say a platform, and then I want to return console. So console dot value of, and here we have the value of, and then we can pass p. All right, and then dot to set, or like to list. Wait. So I think here we just made in game request should be a set of string, not a set of platforms. So we just need the console name, not the full object. So here it should be a list of string. Sorry for that. So let's go back here. So now I think for this one we can make it a lambda, and here we can just use to set directly. Okay, so here I will create a final set of right, so of console. So here let's say selected consoles. And guys, by the way, I'm implementing and also I'm designing and doing everything at the same time. So like this implementation is 100% live. All right, so sometimes you will see me thinking and redesigning and rethinking again, because I'm doing everything live. So like I want to show you how I would really implement an application from scratch without any prior anything like knowledge or like any prior implementation. All right, so now we have our selected consoles. So here, this is the platforms. I guess now we can get rid of this one. So here, all I need to do is to call my platform repository dot find all by. All right, so here we can do find all by console in. So here I just need to pass my selected consoles. So we don't have this method yet. So now we just go and create this method. So here this should return a set. So this should return a set of platform. All right, so here find all by yep, so it should be a console. All right, so let's fix this one here. So now what did we miss? Okay, so here let's say a list of final set of platform and platforms. All right, so now everything is fine. So we have our first method. So for that I will use just I will just use like a query like this. Like I will not create a query or a named query for this. I will just leave it this way because this is fine, or like me even later on. But by the way, as a recommendation, so like since we always talk about recommendation, and I will follow my own recommendation, so it's always better to use a query. All right, so rather than working with the auto-generated or like the queries that are provided from by Spring. All right, so here let's add this one. So here p.console in dot selected or like consoles. All right, so here and this one, it will be a param, and let's call it consoles. All right, so here everything should be fine. All right, just to make this one better looking. Okay, so here we have our query, we have our method, we have everything. All right, so we will come back to this later on. And now once we get the list of the platforms, all I need to do is just now I just need to start creating my object. But before that, as we mentioned in here, I would like to check if I already have a game with the same title. So here, whether you rely on the database and you say, okay, when I get an exception, I will try to catch the exception, cast it, and then return a proper result or like a proper error. Or I want to do or like I want to do the check on my own. So here, the first thing that I would like to do is, all right, so here I will use my game repository dot exists by ID, or like exists by title. Okay, so here I just need to pass my game request dot sorry, not category but title. And for this I will do the following. So if I have this, so let's create this method. So it will return a boolean exists by title. All right, so that's it. So for the boolean methods, I guess we can rely on these ones. So it should be perfectly fine. So here all I need to do is to throw a new, for now I will keep it as a runtime exception. All right, just for now. Okay, but then I will create my own dedicated exceptions. Okay, so here a game, or like game, sorry, game title already exists, or like game already exists. Okay, so like all I need to do is just to return that. And also, as you can see here, by the way, this is also a recommendation from Sonar that you need to define and throw dedicated exception instead of using a generic one. All right, but for now, as I mentioned, so here I will add a to-do, create a dedicated exception, exp. Okay, so now we are sure that we do not have already a game with the same title, and here we also need to check that we have all these platforms. So here we can have two decisions. All right, so like we can decide two things. So here first we will get the selected, or like we will extract the selected consoles, and then we will get the platforms, because like we work with entities, so I need the platform object. So here we have decision one. So decision one is if, because here I will give you the example. So here I have the platform from the game request. So like the game request. So I want to have the following. So I will have PS, Xbox, and ABC. Let's say that we have a console called ABC. And then the list of the platforms from the database, it will give me this one. So it will give me that I have PlayStation and I have Xbox. So here this list is not the same as this one. So whether I throw an exception or like return an error message to the client or to my customer, like the one who invoked or like who used this endpoint, and tell him that I do not support this console. All right, so like this one is not supported, or like it does not exist in my system, or I just like it's called I hope I'm not wrong, but a cold ignorance, or like I just skip it in a cold way. This means what? So I will swallow this. So I know that I have these two platforms, so I can accept them, but I don't know this one, so I'll just ignore it and move on. So here, so the decision here is not really illogical. Okay, so it's always logical, but it really depends on the context, on like the team decision, or like the product manager, or like the product owner decision, and so on and so forth. So whether we swallow, or like we just ignore what we don't know, or we throw an exception. All right, so like, or we throw an exception. So here, let's move, or like let's stick with decision one. Okay, so I will not write it just not to waste time. I already explained what I want to say. So let's stick with decision one. So decision one is if I have more, or like the size is different. So like I want to save, or like I select 3 platforms, and here I know only 2 of them. All right, so I only know 2 of them. So this means that I want to throw an exception and tell my customer or my client or my REST client that I do not know this platform, or like the platform is not supported. Okay, so here I will also add my SLF4j just for logging. And now I will make, or like I will perform a check. So here, if my platforms dot size is different from selected consoles.size. All right, so here all I need to do, so first let's say log.warn, so let's just throw a warning. All right, so here I know that it's always hard to write logs, or like to find the correct namings and phrases, but here let's say received a non-supported platforms. All right, so platforms. And now here we can also log what we received. Okay, so here received, and then existence, or like expected, or something like that, or like stored platforms. All right, so it's not the size, but the platforms itself and the consoles itself, the selected consoles. But I think it should be the other way around. So this one, like when we use this notation, like the opening and closing brackets, it's for a parameter that we can specify with like so many commas later on. So here, so first we said that the received one is the selected consoles, and the existing one is the existing ones are the platforms. All right. So here we just log, and then of course we need to throw a new runtime exception. Platforms does not match, or like platform, one or more platforms are not supported. So maybe let's say one or more platforms are not supported, something like that. Okay, so we will come back to these dedicated exceptions later on. So just to be on the safe side, to do dedicated exception. So here you might ask the question why I'm adding this log. I will also add a log in here. All right. So also I will do a log dot. So this one is gonna be just, it might be an info. So this one, game already exists with the title. So here this or like maybe let's keep it a, okay, so this one is just an info. This one can be just an info, as well as this one we can also transform it to an info. So the logs in here, because we need later on we need to aggregate the logs. So when something happens, so let's assume that you have a customer or a client, someone who is using the API, and he's sending you support messages. I'm trying to create a game, but I'm not able to because I see that, I don't know, like it's returning something, but I'm sure that I selected the correct platforms. All right. Here in this case, you will not so like it's gonna take so much time. Oh, yeah, please, okay, send me the payload and so on and so forth. Maybe he does not know what the payload is. Maybe he's not an IT, like he does not know anything about IT or software engineering. But okay, I just tell him, okay, fine, I will investigate that. Just tell me when you create the platform, or like I can also like find it from his name, or like ID or X-Trace ID and so on and so forth. So here, all I need to do is to check the logs. All right, I need to check the logs because I know who sent the request, when the request was sent, and so I just try to get to read the logs, and okay, I will tell him, okay, so I received a non-supported platforms because you sent me XYZ, but I only store, or I only support ABC. All right, so this is how we can, and like this is why we need logs, and this will help us a lot investigating and doing so many things, and it makes our life much easier. All right, so now we did all the checks. So here we check for the title, we check for the supported platforms, and we check for everything. So now all I need to do, I will create my game object, and here I will use my mapper class dot to game. All right, so this will just a transformation class, and here all I need to do is to pass my game request. So here let's create this method to game, and this is gonna be a simple transformation. So game dot return game dot, I think we do we have builder here? Right, so maybe, okay, map super class, let's add super builder in here. So by the way, when you are working with Lombok and you have inheritance and you want to use the builder annotation, you need to use the super builder instead. You need to mark the parent class as a super builder, as well as in the child class or like the derived class, you need also to give it a super builder annotation. All right, a super builder annotation. So like this, you will be able to have all the attributes of the game class as well as the parent class. Okay, so now if we come back here, we have here dot builder dot build. So simply I will set my so the ID, we don't have it, but we have title, which is my game request dot title. And then we have category. Okay, we have category. Yes, this is a good point, because here also we need to check for the category. All right, so because we were diving into this one and when we forgot about the category. All right, so for this one, I will have my private final category repository, and let's call it category repository. So here it's just simply if category repository dot exists by or exists by ID. So here if not, and also here it should be yeah, so if not, all I need to do, so here let's say log.info, or so this one maybe a warning, let's just warn received category that does not exist, so this is fine. And here let's throw a new runtime exception, and we will come back to this one later on, so we'll just add it to do in here. So now we checked also the category. So let's go to our game mapper in here. So now for the category, we also need to provide a category. All right, so like we need to build the category object. So here I will just add my super builder also for the category, sorry, not map super class, but super builder. All right, so now let's go back to our game mapper. So when working with like when we work with sorry, I see a comment and I will try to answer it before moving on. So can you show us if I want to skip a wrong platform? So here there is nothing really to do. If you want to skip a platform, so like if you say, okay, I want to go with option 2. So if I have a non-supported platforms, it's perfectly fine. I will just persist what I know and ignore what I don't. Just remove this test and that's it. So you don't need to do anything extra. So like there is nothing fancy or like there is nothing really extraordinary. Maybe the one thing that you need to check is that you have a platform, but even if you do not have a platform, this should be fine. All right, this should be perfectly fine. There is no issue or like there is no problem with that. All right, so this is how I hope I quickly answered your question. So now let's continue with the mapping. So here we know that, so we have a relationship between the game and the category, all right? So like we know that a game has a category and the category has a list of games. So here when from the game side, we have a category object. So the category, so the game needs a category object, all right? And also we know that Hibernate or like the persistence layer only cares about the ID. The rest, it's totally ignored. All right. So here, all I need to do is to pass my category dot builder dot build. All right. And here, all I need to do is to provide the ID. Okay. So here it will be my game request dot category ID. So this is all I need to provide. So let me break this one. So maybe here it's much more clear and visible for you. So here, as I mentioned, all I need is to provide the category, an object of type category with the ID. So this is all I need to do. So here, for example, if I provide the list, the rest of the information, so name and so on and so forth, this will be totally ignored because I only need the ID. All right. So all right, so then what I need to do, I need to set the platforms. So here the platforms, all I need is just to build the platforms. All right, so just building the platform or like passing it later on, but for now I will keep the platform. Okay, so I will keep the platform without providing anything. Okay, so and by the way, just to come back to the question, if I want to skip, so if you want to skip, you can, this part right here, where is it? So this part right here, you can just try to use that one, or like you can try to transform this directly in the mapper, but it doesn't make sense. So here, what do we have also like other attributes? So here, this the only two attributes that I have right now, but why I did not map the platform. So I can, here I have two options, by the way. So here, whether I can pass the platforms as a parameter to my mapper and set it directly, or I can just set it in here. So here, once I map the game, so I just do game.set platforms and then my platforms. Okay, so and then platforms. But here I guess we need to change something. So this should be a set. So for that, until we discuss this for the next time, I will change this to list. All right, so I will use a list, or here I can also just transform or cast this platform to a list of platform. Okay, but just to avoid this, I will just keep it this way. All right, so here also I will use a list, and also here a list, just for now. All right, and until we discuss it the next time. All right, and here I can use to list. All right, so now we have everything. So now I can set to, yeah, this one also needs to be a list instead of a set. And wait, yeah, also in here. So you see, like, you need to make the right decisions from the beginning, or otherwise you need to do so many updates. All right, so now I just have the game, and then set the platforms. All right, and now all I need to do is to persist my entity, and that's it. So now all I need to do is to set, sorry, not to set, but to persist. Okay, so here I will have another game, saved game. And here, by the way, I can, this one, if I make it final, it will be fine. So like I can make this one final. Also, I can make this one final, a final object. So here the only thing, so here when we use final, I can change the properties, the attributes. All right, but I cannot here. So for example, I cannot say game equals a new game again. All right, so like I cannot reset it. So I cannot reassign a new value. All right, that's why it's always good to use final in the right place, or like whenever is needed. It's better always to use the final keyword. So let's try to make ourselves, or like let's change the habits and always try to use final. All right, if I don't, just remind me in the comments. So here I have my saved game. So here all I need to do is to do saved game.getID and return that one. Also here there is something I want to mention. So here we have a supported platform. We have platforms from the game side, and we have also this list from the platform side. So here we created a game and we assigned it to platforms, to a list of platforms. What also can be done? So I think in this kind of relationship, it's not mandatory, but also what needs to be done, or like what can be done, is looping over this list of platforms, and for each one of them we need to assign the game. because here we have, let me explain. So here we have our games. All right. So here we have our games and we have our platforms. So here we will have an intermediary table. Let's call them game platform. All right. So here when we save a new game, so when we insert something new, it will be game ID 1, platform 1, game ID 1, platform 2, since we have, let's say, 3 platforms for now, and game ID 1 and platform 3. So this is known from this way. So like from this direction, we know this. We also need to set it to this direction. All right. So I need for the different platforms to say that the platform 1 has an association with game 1, the platform 2 has an association with game 1, and so forth. So this one we will explore it, or like we will see it in practice next time. So here I will just add a to do check, or like, all right, I will keep it as a question. Do we need to assign the game to the platforms, to the selected platforms? All right, so we will answer this question the next time. All right, so as you can see in here, it's a simple save method. All right, and I'm pretty sure, because I saw so many codes, especially for like beginners and juniors, and I only see this line and this line. Or like I only see 2 lines in a save method. But saving something, it's not okay. I won't say it's impossible or it's complicated, but it should not be so easy. Why? Because we need to perform checks. All right, you need to check, you need to validate your data. So this is a second. So before we called it, this is the second line of defense, but in here we can have 2 lines of defenses. All right, so here we have a first line is to validate the object. So like, or let's 2 prime. So the 2 prime is to validate the attributes. All right, so like if the attributes are there, if they exist, and the 2 are no, like second is to validate the consistency, or if the data really exists, if the data, they follow the logic that I want. All right, so if the data, as we did here, so first I need to check if I have a game exists, or if a game exists by the same title or not, if I have all my platforms in my database, if I have the category. So these are like a second, or like special second layer, or like a second layer of the second line of defense. All right, so I need to perform as many checks as possible. Okay, so this is what needs to be done. All right, so the save method, so as you can see, it's not just 2 lines. All right, so always keep that in mind. And also, by the way, so here I want to check something because I might forgot it. So do we have validation? Nope. So also here what we can do, so what we can do in here, let's add, okay, I will do it next time. So I want also like to explain it in details. All right, but here I'm mainly talking about the Spring data validation. All right, so like validating data using Spring, using the Spring starter validator. All right, so this is the save game. So for now I will push these changes. Let me push this code cleanup, and then here implement save game method. So now I will push this, or I will push all the changes. Yeah, okay, and push. So now what I'm expecting from you, so like this is what I mentioned earlier in the stream. If you want to contribute, just feel free to check the code, create a pull request, and maybe let's start with this one. All right, maybe let's start only with the game service. If you want to contribute, just let me know. Try to create some pull requests. When you do create a pull request, whether send me a message or like the best way, if you are already in the Discord server, just throw a message in the Discord server and I will have a look on it, review it. And if it needs like a public review, so just for you to know, we might have like a public review like among all of us. So like we can like I can share the screen and do a live review for that. So if you want to continue this way, I think this should be a good way, because when you do mistakes and someone else corrects you, this is the best way or the best approach to learn. So it's your decision. If you want to go this way, we can go this way. Otherwise, I can continue just coding on my own. All right. So I hope today's session, it was fine. And also like, sorry for the last time, because I just had some technical issues with my streaming software, and now I hope it will be fixed for a long time, or like till the end of this bootcamp at least. Other than that, if you have questions, please go ahead and let's move to the Q&A. If you have questions, just ask me in the comments, like if you have any type of questions. Of course, it's better to be something related to the bootcamp, all right? Or like related to coding, not any other, not any type of questions, I mean. So yeah, I'm just joking. All right, so let's move to the chat and we'll start receiving your questions. All right, I see a first question. So are we going to use distributed tracing system like Zipkin? In this case, we really do not need to use a distributed tracing. So only a tracing tool or like a log aggregator should be perfectly fine. But a distributed one, I don't think this is really required. All right. So yeah. All right, go ahead and ask your questions, and I will try to answer all your questions. Other than that, if you do not have questions, just let me know. All right, so if you do not have any questions, I would like to tell you thank you so much for joining me today. And also, like, we will continue on having our normal or usual sessions on Sundays the same time. All right. Okay, so I see another question. Can you share a specification document? Sorry, I did not get what you mean by, I did not understand what you mean by specification document. I didn't get that. All right, if you can clarify, I would be happy to answer your question. Otherwise, if you do not have any further question, I would like to thank you for joining me today. Also, don't forget to let people know about our bootcamp and let more people join us. All right, so I will just try to wait a few seconds. Maybe I get something else. Otherwise, I will stop today's live and see you in the next one.